Hello, this is my presentation on matter by me, Steve Knustrup. Well, wait, what's that? It's not about matter, it's about antimatter. This is my presentation on antimatter, and I am Steve Knustrup. So what is antimatter? We have this blue circle, and that's regular matter. This green circle would be antimatter. Completely the same, except opposite. It's only opposite because, say, this blue circle is a regular old electron. So you have E minus. For an electron, this green circle would be E plus, because it's an antimatter electron. And it's just the same as regular matter, only the complete opposite. So who discovered or invented antimatter? In 1928, Paul Dirac discovered antimatter. He combined the theory of special relativity with quantum mechanics to come up with an equation which would have two solutions, just like how if you would have x squared equal to 4, x could equal plus or minus 4. This equation had two solutions as well. So you had matter with a positive charge and matter with a negative charge. So therefore he suggested and hypothesized that there would be two different types of matter and antimatter. And that's where the first theory of antimatter came into being in 1928. He ended up winning the Nobel Prize in 1933 for his discovery. So we have our matter and our antimatter here again. Now what happens if these two touch? Well, if matter was to contact antimatter, due to the Einstein equation of E equals mc squared, energy would be equal to the mass of the matter. It would create a huge explosion. So where do they study antimatter? They study antimatter in a laboratory in Europe called CERN. And that's their big particle accelerator that's underground. And they've used it for a lot of experiments, including finding the Higgs boson. But that's where most of the antimatter experiments go on to. Now, antimatter, they've trapped in the Atlas experiment, which is where they do all the anti-hydrogen experiments, for over 16 minutes. Now that seems like a long time, and it really is. That's good enough to study its principles and its properties, but why antimatter isn't commercially viable now is it would cost $100 billion to produce 1 milligram of antimatter. Now, in order for that to be commercially viable, NASA said that that price would have to drop by a factor of 10,000. So what's next for the future of antimatter? Antimatter is being looked at for three possible uses once it can be made cheap enough to be used for actual applications. Being looked at for medical applications, being looked at for rockets so we can travel further into the solar system, and it's also being looked at for power generation. Now, power generation does not sound promising, however, because it still takes much more energy to make antimatter than an antimatter explosion would give off for energy, similar to a nuclear reaction. They still have all the same safety factors as with nuclear about safety and what happens if something truly just goes wrong. So, antimatter might not be useful right now, but it will be in the future. Thank you for taking my Microsoft Paint trip through the world of antimatter with me. If you have any questions, feel free to let me know and in the comment section, and have a great day. Thanks for watching. See you next time.